There are things that are under our control and things that are not, opinions, preferences, desires, and aversions. In a word, everything that is inherent to our actions is under our control. On the other hand, the body, wealth, reputation, authorities, in a word, everything that is not inherent to our actions, is beyond our control. This is how the manual or guide to life by the famous Greek philosopher begins. If you wish to live a fulfilling life without an excess of the soul's afflictions, you must understand that there are things under your control and things that are not. Our duty is to spend our energy on what is within our command and to disregard what is not. One of the greatest problems a human being can face is the opinions and judgments of other people. It is practically inevitable to be affected, either negatively or positively, by them. If you truly want to avoid being affected, you must understand that other people's opinions, insults, or any kind of personal attack are not under your control. In the manual of life, we learn how to act in case of being the target of an offense. Therefore, the goal of this video is to extract the teachings from the famous manual of life in order to achieve a mental state that allows us to reduce or eliminate all types of suffering stemming from the judgments of others. Through 7 teachings or principles extracted from Epictetus' manual of life, you will learn why you should not worry about external feelings and how to reach a state where opinions cannot harm you. If you are new here, consider subscribing to not miss all the valuable content we are preparing for you. Before we begin, remember to leave your opinion in the comments, as this will help me understand what I need to improve. Thank you. Principle 1, Dealing with Insults and Offenses. Epictetus teaches, remember that the one who insults or offends is not truly harming you, but rather it's your own judgment that these actions are offensive. So, when someone provokes you, remember that it's your own opinion that's disturbing you in the first place. Avoid allowing yourself to be influenced by appearances, because with time and serenity, it becomes easier to maintain self-control. One of the keys to not caring about others' opinions is to understand that insults and offenses are not inherently harmful. The emotional discomfort that accompanies such offensive words is, in fact, a result of how we interpret these words. When someone attempts to belittle you or show disrespect, remember that these words can only harm you if you allow them to. If you react negatively, a person's true greatness is measured by the amount of negativity they can endure. Unfortunately, that's the nature of life. When you feel insulted or offended, ask yourself, do I want to win or lose? Do I want to yield to what's beyond my control? We can draw an analogy with Stoicism and desires. If we wish not to be influenced by them, we should not fight against desires because they will never disappear. The difference lies in how we deal with these desires, whether we completely surrender to them or ignore them. Therefore, if you can remain unshaken by insults, the sense of the satisfaction that follows will uplift you, making you stronger and more capable of standing firm in the face of adversity. I'm sure you've been in situations where a negative comment has ruined your day or week despite all your efforts. Let me tell you that I understand how you feel because we've all faced this situation at some point. If this is your case, I suggest you keep learning, as in the following principles, we will address self-mastery. Principle 2, Maintaining Steadfast Purposes. In this principle, it's crucial to understand that if we wish to avoid being affected by the opinions of others, we must be prepared for the following. If you have a strong purpose in seeking an understanding of philosophy, be ready from the start to face ridicule and mockery from society. Prepare to hear people say things like, suddenly he's become a philosopher, or, where does this arrogant attitude come from? Stay firm in your decision not to adopt an arrogant stance and continue dedicating yourself to things that genuinely contribute to your well-being. Remember that by remaining steadfast in your choice, the same people who used to mock you will eventually admire you. However, if you allow yourself to be influenced by others, you'll be subject to a double mockery. Those who aspire to become philosophers, or even if that's not your desire, this principle proposed by the Greek can be applied to any other aspect of our lives. This principle is fundamental because many people neglect their true talents just to please dissenting voices. What Epictetus teaches us is that if we allow our purposes to be shaped by the fear of others' opinions, we won't fail because we tried and couldn't, but because we yielded to the pressure of external opinions. We should not see this as a failure but as a deviation from our true essence. When someone gives up only to avoid social conflicts or to prevent others from passing judgments on their life, it's preferable to persist, even if there is mockery or questioning for a period. After all, by moving forward, you'll be living in harmony with your own nature. I recommend reflecting on this whenever you need to make a decision in your life, analyze your priorities, and understand the true reason behind your choices. By doing so, you'll be closer to living in accordance with your principles and values. Principle 3. Don't worry about bad reputation. Epictetus teaches us that we should not worry if someone speaks ill of us. Do not let the idea of living in dishonor and being undervalued anywhere disturb you, because if not receiving honors were detrimental, then others would have the power to make us unhappy. But things don't work that way. The truth is that you are only someone in areas that are under your control and depend on your decisions. This principle is particularly relevant in today's world. How often have you done something you really didn't want to just to gain someone's approval, especially on social media? The pursuit of social validation on these platforms can be like poison to the mind. We must ask ourselves, is it worth altering our true essence just to gain a bit of satisfaction? Is it worth handing over our emotional well-being to others? My answer is clear, no. I recommend reflecting on this because everyone has been caught doing something embarrassing but not malicious at some point. Why care if they laugh at you or leave you out? In terms of popularity, do you truly believe your happiness depends on how popular you are? If you live this way, you'll be in constant conflict because your happiness is not in your hands. Therefore, you'll live in a constant state of tension. Changing your essence to avoid losing status goes against one of the fundamental principles of Stoicism, to concern yourself only with what's under your control and become imperturbable regarding what's not. As for insults, remember that no one can harm you unless you allow it. If someone harms you or speaks ill of you, remember that they are acting according to their belief that they are right to do so. Not everyone acts in accordance with what you consider right, but it seems right to them. Therefore, if someone judges you based on a distorted image, they are the ones harming themselves with their mistake. So tolerate the person who insults you with patience and repeat to yourself, this is what they think. Principle 4. Exercising high self-control. Epictetus teaches us that for an insult to become an offense, we must treat our mind with the same care as we do our body. I'm sure you wouldn't allow a stranger to enter your home every day, aware of the threat it would represent. However, when we receive an insult and interpret it as an offense, we allow that person to enter our mind and linger there for a few days. So, we allow strangers into our minds when we would never let them into our homes. To achieve a state in which we can ignore the negative feelings resulting from an insult, discipline and self-control must be cultivated. This applies to all situations in life, including in relation to our own family. When you feel anger, exercise control over that emotion, as it will prevent much unnecessary suffering and make you feel more at peace with yourself. Believe me, this will bring about a significant change in your life. Self-control is a valuable skill that allows us to maintain calm and serenity regardless of circumstances. By practicing it, we can avoid impulsive and harmful reactions, which helps us live a more balanced and satisfying life. So always remember to take care of your mind in the same way you take care of your body and practice discipline and self-control to achieve a state of inner peace and lasting well-being. Principle 5. Act in accordance with your best judgment. Epictetus teaches us that we should not be ashamed of being seen acting in accordance with our principles, even if others may form a mistaken idea of what we are doing. If we are acting justly and ethically, why should we fear the mistaken judgment of others? This also applies to the use of social media, where we often allow our happiness to depend on the popularity or validation of others. This leads us to act to please them rather than following our path. It's important to remember that by acting in accordance with your best judgment and staying true to your principles, you are acting authentically and with integrity. Don't let social pressure lead you to make choices that are not aligned with your values and beliefs. Instead, follow what you believe is right and just, regardless of others' opinions. By acting with integrity, you become an inspiring example for others and create a solid foundation for your own happiness. Remember that, in the end, the correct judgment of yourself is more important than the mistaken perception of others. By acting in accordance with your principles, you build a strong foundation for a meaningful and fulfilling life. Principle 6. Don't worry about bad reputation. Epictetus teaches us that we should not be concerned if someone speaks ill of us. If someone harms you or speaks ill of you, remember that they act assuming that they are right to do so. It is impossible to expect everyone to act in accordance with what seems right to you when, in fact, it may not seem right to them. Therefore, if they are making judgments based on a false impression, they are the ones harming themselves with that mistake. Based on these principles, tolerate the person who judges you with patience. And on each of these occasions, tell yourself, this person acts according to their own understanding of what is right, which may be different from mine. Their judgment does not define my true essence, and I should not allow it to disturb me. I choose to follow the path of tranquility and authenticity instead of allowing others' judgments to affect me. By adopting this perspective, you strengthen your emotional resilience and self-confidence, allowing you to pursue your journey according to your own principles rather than being shaped by others' opinions. This principle reminds us that a person's true worth is not in the image others have of them but in the integrity of their actions and the character they cultivate. Principle 7. No one can hurt you. Through this seventh principle, we examine the motivation behind insults. What this teaches us is that we cannot expect everyone to act in accordance with what we consider right or share the same worldview as us. This expectation can be harmful and naive. We should reflect on the fact that it's unrealistic to expect everyone to share our perspective. So when someone insults us, believing they know the truth about us, we should deeply consider the following. We know ourselves, our thoughts, motivations, and reasons for acting the way we do. The only person who truly knows the truth about us is ourselves. Therefore, when faced with an insult from a stranger, we should ask ourselves, did I act wrongly? If the answer is no, we should ask ourselves, can I enter their mind and understand the motivation behind the insult? And it's evident that we cannot. Therefore, if we have acted correctly and face the ignorance of the motivation behind the insult, we should find comfort in the certainty that we are the people who know ourselves best. In the case of having acted correctly, we should not carry the burden of regret, as Epictetus said, so it seemed to them. To conclude, I'd like to end with the following lesson from Epictetus. How long will you put off thinking yourself worthy of the highest improvements and follow the plan of reason you have received? The philosophical principles with which you ought to be familiar, what other master then do you wait for as a teacher to begin your work? You are no longer a boy but a grown man. If you are careless and lazy and keep putting things off and always deferring the day after which you will attend to yourself, you will not notice that you are making no progress, but you will live and die as someone quite ordinary. Epictetus's teaching reminds us of the importance of acting with prudence, adopting the philosophy of life we choose, and seeking self-knowledge. We should not waste time waiting for ideal conditions to start proving ourselves. The time to embark on the path of wisdom is now, and we should seize that opportunity. If you enjoyed this video, share your thoughts in the comments. If this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe to join us on the journey to wisdom. Goodbye.